For the past 5 years, we have seen critical decisions in the Western world, from healthcare to education, shaped not by science and statistics, but by ideology. And now we're seeing in real time the uncomfortable truths that cannot be ignored. Not gonna lie, it's ugly, but it is not without hope. Because we are starting to see a shift back to reality. You might have seen this viral X post going around that shows data of students no longer identifying as male or female, and of course a ton of conservatives were celebrating it, saying, we destroyed the transes, we destroyed transgenderism, and that's actually not true, but there's some kind of truth to that. A number of right-wing sites were also reporting on this without realizing that, like I said, the data is a bit flawed. Because the graph was actually about people that are identifying as non-binary, not transsexual. And while I can't blame the right for this because they were in fact told by the left or by the leftists that non-binary is trans, the simple fact that we know is that it is not. It's not the same thing at all. Transsexuals understand that they are one sex. They recognize that they're one sex. They have gender dysphoria. They do their best to transition in some way to appear as the opposite sex. Non-binary most of the time is a sexist ideology that people are slowly getting sick of, and they're waking up to it. We've been on a societal shift for quite some time now, where the objective reality of science has been sidelined. Thousands of genders, laws punishing people that misgender somebody, males and female sports and spaces. This is what happens when you ignore science and facts and champion ideology and people's feelings. And I believe that this is just one of the major reasons that ignoring established biological truths are in decline. We're also seeing that a ton of Gen Zers who before identified as queer or non-binary or whatever new made up shit they came up with this week is also on the decline. Because again, science. Being gay and transsexual, or even bisexual, is based on science. Being queer and non-binary is based on ideology. And no, being queer is not the same thing as being homosexual. I can prove it to you. Have you ever met a non-binary Republican? What about a queer conservative? No? All right, just making sure. If you look at this graph, it's exactly why people identifying as gay and lesbian are stable, while heterosexuality or non-binary, most of the time, people that just don't want to admit that they're straight, has rebounded. It seems that these blue-haired idiots realize that the fact is that they actually don't like licking pussy. They just felt really bad about being white and cis and straight, then realized they couldn't fake their sexual orientation any longer. And for the normal gays and lesbians, we are still here having to clean up the bullshit that they left, that I've been saying that we would have to do for the past 7 years. Eric continued his thread and said, not only this, but freshmen in 2024-25 were less trans and queer than seniors were, whereas it was the reverse when BTQ identifying was surging 3 years ago. It's crazy to think that this trend, which is, what you and I always knew that it was going to come down to, caused thousands of misdiagnoses, data collection and crime issues, unfair competitions, fighting between families, breaking up families, influencers going topless at the White House. And all of this was based on the fact that these were just young people, most of them, that just wanted to fit in, that were insecure, that didn't have a stable community. Just like I've always said, this type of community, the queer community, the queer ideology movement, gave these people purpose, gave them something to fight for, an identity, something to believe in, something to aspire to be better at. Although I don't know how you can be better at being queer or being gay. It's just something that you are. But I guess in their head, because it's not something that you are, it's something that you do, that makes sense. It makes them want to be better at that. But we know the truth, right? It's always been overall, intellectual laziness fused with moral chaos. And I think one of the reasons is a lack of religion. And again, although I am not religious, I am very spiritual. I do believe in a higher power and that we're all connected and all those wonderful things that is very, I guess, typical of a lesbian to believe in. Is it though? Maybe not lesbians today, but I feel like lesbians in the past, millennial lesbians understand me. Eventually everything has to come back to science, right? You can only gaslight people for so long until they once again believe their own eyes. And trust me when I say this, people have had enough. 2 days ago, Maine parents stripped to their underwear at a school board meeting to demonstrate how uncomfortable it is for girls to be forced to change in locker rooms with trans-identified males. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the fact. The reason why they had to do this, I'm just laughing at the fact that they actually went through with this because it's great. Female volleyball game at Seneca College in Ontario, Canada features 5 biological male trans athletes. 5. Not just 1, 5. People are over it, and so are the kids. These kids staged a walkout in Oregon after a male student was once again allowed in the girls' changing room.
Yeah?
We're not against the trans rights. We just want to create a safe environment for all of us. And when people come in like that, without us as students having an opinion on it, it creates a dangerous place for us because there's nobody in those bathrooms making sure we're going to be safe. So instead of talking to us, they just decided this is what's going to be acceptable for us and push us on us. And that's why we're out here doing this.
And interestingly enough, in an extreme turn of events, Kamala comes out against this as well. Kamala has come out against biological males who identify as trans competing in women and girls sports, citing concerns about fairness, which is, nobody saw that coming. I did not have that on my 2025 bingo card, just saying. Maybe Biden did, because that's all he does is probably play bingo because he's so old. In her new book, 107 Days, Kamala said, I agree with the concerns expressed by parents and players that we have to take into account biological factors such as muscle mass and unfair student athletic advantage when we determine who plays on which teams, especially in contact sports. Literally what we've been saying for 6 years, 7 years. 8, whatever, how long it's been. Alberta's Bill 26 to protect minors from irreversible medical interventions has passed. Leading health authorities in Sweden, Finland, Norway, and the UK have conducted independent reviews that find evidence for these interventions exceptionally weak, with risks outweighing the unproven benefits. These countries now restrict the use of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones in youth, prioritizing psychotherapy and psychological support instead. The tides are turning. Children's Hospital at Richmond, VCU also ends all gender-affirming care for minors. We've known that more and more people have been detransitioning. I've covered this on my channel for the last 4 or 5 years. At the very least, a lot of them have been regretting their surgery. Some people have, medically transitioned with hormones, some people just with surgeries, but overall, these people are regretting it.
It makes sense to let the child transition because that's what the child needs in order to be happy and in order to be okay. It's not that they're gonna grow up and be adults and regret everything.
I regret transitioning.
I hate being transgender.
I genuinely regret transitioning.
I regret the surgery.
I do regret transitioning.
Lauren Chen said, instead of cross-sex hormones, why don't we give trans people the same sex hormones? If a male feels like a woman, why not give him testosterone, not estrogen? And Brianna said, who's a trans woman, who I like, said, they tried this, it made us even more distressed and extremely suicidal. Whatever is wrong with us has some biological basis because estrogen fixes it so shockingly well. And again, let's stick with the science. Science says that this indeed does help a lot of actual transsexual people. And if we're being real, the insane uptick in trans-identifying people was a red flag from the start.
That's not me, okay? I view transitioning as the single worst mistake I've made in my life. It had immediate negative consequences with my family because they could just not wrap their head around my desire to transition. I wanted them to use this new name and pronouns pretty immediately. They did not want to do that because they did not want to affirm this identity that, they were hoping I would come to my senses. I did not. I ignored them. But yeah, it drove this huge wedge between us, and that was really hard for me because I was close to my parents. I'm still close to my parents. I went into my freshman year of college during COVID, and this was all the first year of my transition, and I had a really hard time making connections on campus or with anyone just because I was a very non-passing trans woman, and honestly I was never very good at cohering to gendered expectations of women, so I don't know, I don't think people took me very seriously outside of these very trans affirming social groups. Also, having a trans identity, constantly worrying about passing, about being misgendered, that kind of thing, it made me incredibly neurotic, and I'm already a neurotic person. So yeah, this is not even to mention the physical effects. If it was just I'd gone socially transitioned, I would feel a lot better about it, but no, I had facial feminization surgery, so I do miss my strong brow bone. I don't like looking a little more androgynous like I do now. But the biggest negative effects have been the lingering effects of estrogen. I have some gynecomastia, which is, really not too bad, as you can see. My thighs are a little bit thicker than the average guys.
Look at this comparison in British attitudes of trans rights from 2020 to 2024. Look at how drastic the change is. Look at all the green dots, or the green check marks in the first slide, and then look at all the red X's in the second slide. And the most annoying part of all of this is that the fake trans people, the activists, the queer activists, refuse to take any accountability for letting this happen, for making this happen, for causing this to happen. They'll blame me, they'll blame J.K. Rowling, they'll blame TERFs. I guess they call me a TERF too, so that whatever. They'll blame Trump, they'll blame Republicans, they'll blame conservatives. But the truth is, again, science can only be ignored for so long. We can only be gaslit for so long. Gays Against Rumor said the most disturbing trend of the last few years is the destruction of childhood innocence in an attempt to validate the insecurities of sick adults.
I am trans non-binary and I have suspect endometriosis. Yes, we exist. My gender has made finding a diagnosis and treatment a lot more difficult for me, not only because it can be really hard to advocate for yourself when you don't know that people are going to respect your gender identity, but also because a lot of the treatments available for endometriosis do not fit with the lifestyle that I want and honestly would make me extremely dysphoric and just not be a good fit for me.
You can only ignore detransitioners by playing on your phone for so long. Forrest said, I used to be non-binary. I had they, them pronouns. I had X on my ID. I had MX on my bank statements. I really thought I was a secret third gender because I didn't conform to female stereotypes. I am not non-binary. I am a woman. It was all stupid. We also know that there have been quite a few whistleblowers coming out in support of common sense and in support of science. A lot of those people were or are on the left, which is kind of amazing. A lot of people on the left are finally admitting that they indeed were wrong. Excuse me, I just farted. I don't know if you heard that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, though. If you enjoyed this video and you are new to this channel, give it a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. Other than that, I will see you guys back here in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Love yourselves. You know the deal. Keep calling out the bullshit. I don't know what I'm doing. Bye.